here so I can watch it.
We're live in 10 seconds, but it's populating. All right, we are live. So welcome, John. This is the third week of the menu sales pricing strategy that John is elaborating on and explaining everything about. It's a new way of doing sales that we think is incredible. Just for a quick introduction, me and Ken, we have a group, the HVAC sales community and the marketing community, of course, because we help HVAC businesses do the marketing on their end. And today we hop on here with John to talk on the third day about the menu pricing strategy. So welcome, John. How are you doing?
Hey, thanks for having me, guys. Thank you, Kenny and Ben. Been a pleasure. Day 3, sales training. Love it.
Yeah, so do you want to reiterate kind of what we talked about week 1 and week 2? That way, if somebody's playing catch up, they know like where we're at.
Yeah. So day 1, we just did some introductions. We talked about some different kind of sales strategies that are out there, and like Airtime 500, Nexstar, Tony Robbins, the Sandler approach. There's a lot of different ones out there that have been around for a long time. Sales is not new, so we went over a little history, the how, when, and why. We talked about the importance of a process, which we're going to continue about talking about. And so day 1 was just kind of getting to know each other and just kind of setting the table for what we're going to be doing on the 4 classes. And so then as we went into day 2, you can't have a good sales process and team, a strategy unless you know your numbers. We need to be profitable in what we're doing. Otherwise, why do it? And so I talked about knowing your numbers and different KPIs and why KPIs are important. I also mentioned that as you're starting off, you may or may not be used to analytics, looking at financial stuff, and then not looking at all the KPIs you could look at. Pick a couple, focus on those, the most important ones, and then add one to the mix as you get more comfortable with it. And we talked about figuring out how much it costs to put a truck in the driveway, figuring out billable hour per technician. We talked about some strategy. We talked about revenue and profit. And so we just went over some basic kind of business principles to kind of get us geared up for day 3 and 4. Yeah. And so sales training day 3, what we're going to talk about today is what I call the service call life cycle. In that, we're going to be building, we're going to be talking about a process, and it could get your mind starting to think about building your own process and when does the sales process actually start. When you're building a process, every step of the process should set the table for the next step in the process. Right. And so you're setting expectations and you're meeting those expectations. And so then if there's a saying that if it wasn't said or if it isn't written, it didn't happen. And right. So, and this is to benefit you and the client equally. We're going to talk about why options work during a service call life cycle. And then we're going to talk about some other things that are really important as you build out a process for running a service call. And I'm gonna show you how to ask for a review. That's very simple, makes a whole lot of sense, and how to sell a maintenance agreement. And so we're going to start at the beginning of a call, and we're going to go all the way through it till you're done. Collect payment, ask for a review, and offer a maintenance agreement to that customer. And always be ready for the big question. Make sense?
Yeah. I just wanted to mention something there. You were talking about, I forgot how you just said it, but long story short, make sure, I remember my old sales manager, this is like 12 years ago. I remember my old sales manager, they were like, make sure every door is closed behind you before you move into the next door. Otherwise, you're going to have to go all the way back and close that one door that you missed. So I forgot what it was that you just said, but it just reminded me of that. And then as far as like the options, um, I was saying I wish I had this when I was younger and when I was doing more sales and stuff like that. And then I thought about it, and when I sold windows, um, we always had two different brands, and we had three options for each. And I'd say probably 80 to 90% of the time, most people were choosing that middle option. But it kind of just balances out itself because they don't want the cheapest option, but they also don't want the highest price option. And that was just an option in and of itself. So I never really thought about it like that, but that's another way how it's very similar to what we're talking about here. And I mean, it works. I wasn't trying to push them on the cheapest window. I wasn't trying to push them on the most expensive. I would let them know everything that we have, and then here's what you want. But yeah.
Sure. And Windows is a service, and it doesn't matter what you could be selling brushes,
Right.
yeah, or you could be selling accordion lessons. We talked about that during day one, and that you and I think both our parents bought us accordion lessons from a guy who came and knocked on the door.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's just sales, and so you can have a premium product with three options, and then you can have a consumer grade product with three options. And so since we're on that subject, let's just go ahead and clear the air, and we'll start with why having options work. And so it's no secret. So I am a coach and service trainer for the new flat rate. The new flat rate is a menu pricing system. And in that menu pricing system, we have thousands of repairs and services already preloaded. And every single service we have has 5 options. Now, traditional flat rate would be a good, better, best scenario. So you'd have 3 options. And to your point, our analytics shows us and history shows us that human nature will toss out the highest option because we know we can't afford that or we're on a budget. We'll throw out the bottom option because a lot of times we are led to believe or our minds want to take us to the bottom option isn't valuable enough. There's no value there. Right. And then that takes us right to the middle. So if you have 3 options and you throw out the top and the bottom, that leaves 1 left. That's still not a choice. That's 1 option.
Right.
And so having a menu with 5 options, if they were to throw out the top and the bottom, they find themselves in the middle with 3 to choose from. Now they still have a choice. The skilled trades industry forever has been a take it or leave it proposition. You come in, you diagnose the problem, you say, hey, Mr. and Mrs. Homeowner, it's going to be $600 to fix your problem. And it's the hottest day of the year, the coldest day of the year, the most inconvenient time of the year. And you push the customer into a corner. They don't have a choice. Take it or leave it. It's going to be $600. Well, right. they may take it because of the inconvenience and being the hottest or coldest time of year. But that leaves a very bad taste in their mouth because they feel they weren't in control. They didn't have a say in the matter, and it creates buyer's remorse.
Right.
That makes a lot of sense. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Now, when you go into Wally World and you want to buy a coffee pot, and you walk over and you find the aisle in home appliances where all the coffee pots are, and there's 15 different coffee pots, all the way from the one that you see in your hotel room that'll make a single cup of coffee for about $8, $10, you can get a little coffee maker, and it makes just a perfectly fine cup of coffee. And then you go to the other side, and it's got the Cadillac that's all chrome, got more chrome than a 57 Chevy, and it'll froth your cream and do cappuccino, frappuccino, and everything you can imagine. And there's quite a different price swing from the $10 one to the $500 one. But what doesn't happen in that process while you're there is nowhere to be found is a salesperson that comes up to you and tries to make you buy one of those coffee pots. It is completely up to you. As a matter of fact, it's kind of hard to find anybody to help you in any of those stores like Home Depot and the big box stores.
Home Depot's the worst. I don't even want to talk. Mine's just terrible. Yeah.
But so you walk up and you may read the box and you're given some information. You look at price and guess what? The decision is mine and only mine. The decision is nobody else's. But in a traditional service, you push them into a corner and it's take it or leave it. They don't have a choice. They either want their stuff fixed or maybe call somebody else.
Right.
And so then.
And what do people then do in order to feel like they have a choice? They start getting multiple estimates. They get 3 to 5 estimates from other companies.
Well, especially on bigger ticket items.
Right.
So here's a concept I want you to understand too. There is millions of dollars exchanged hands every single day in the food service industry.
Mm-hmm.
You go into your favorite restaurant, you're greeted with a smile. They walk you over, they sit you down, they hand you a menu, take your order for drinks, they come back and say, hey, what should we do? At no time does a waitress or a waiter come over and try to force you to buy anything. Now they may tell you, hey, we're having a special today, or we've got this going on, and it's Friday and the fish of the day or catch of the day is this. They may do that, but at no time during that whole sales process does anybody try to force you to buy anything. You look at the menu and you say, hey, you know what? Today I feel like the cheeseburger. I'm going to go ahead and get a cheeseburger. And that's okay. The waiter doesn't care. Or today I feel like the filet mignon. Now I'm going to spend $50 on a steak. You know what? That's okay too. It's my choice. And so our philosophy at the new flat rate is have options, keep the customer 100% in control, show them a menu, and then say, what should we do? And shut the hell up and allow them to make a decision. Now, you don't know what's going on in their life. You don't know what's going on in their head. So just be quiet. They always say the first one to speak loses. That's one of the sales concepts. You know what? There's some truth to that. You've presented them with the information they need to make a decision. You've explained to them what the problem is. You went through your process. Now it's up to them to look over the data and make a decision. And if they ask a question, well, you answer the question.
Right.
We don't know what's going on in their head. We have this saying, leave your mother in the truck. She may be saying, oh my goodness, this is going to cost this much. I might have to move some money over from this checking account over to this checking, or from savings over to there. Little Johnny needs a new pair of shoes. Sally's going in for braces. Oh, my husband, he didn't get his Christmas bonus. Or, hey, you know what? My husband did get his Christmas bonus. And so therefore I could spend a little. We don't know any of that. We don't know any of it. And that's okay. We don't need to know.
Right.
If they want to tell us, they'll tell us. And I've heard a whole litany of different reasons why they want to do different things. And you know what? That's fine. Life is life. And we all experience different things in life. Does that make sense?
Makes sense.
Yeah.
It makes sense.
Make a good point. A lot of people will talk themselves out of the sale. I've seen it happen so many times, especially with newer guys. They just keep going. Less
is more.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So one of the philosophies also with the new flat rate. Now, hear me correctly, everyone. This is not a sales pitch on the new flat rate. I happen to know it works. I go all over the United States, large companies, small companies, big cities, Del Rio, Texas, right on the border that is impoverished. And this system works. It's just a system among many. I just happen to know this one works really, really well. And so I'm going to share a lot of concepts in that. We believe in linguistic psychology. So how words are spoken, how they're received, your stature, your cadence, talking with confidence, but not being cocky, talking in a language that they can understand and not bringing the truck of knowledge and trying to dump it on them. If you start talking too technical, they'll glaze over, they'll feel inferior, they'll feel stupid, like he's telling me all this, like I should know it. It's like, No. So you keep it really simple, and making eye contact is important. Knowing a person's space, don't get in their space. It's like a 3 foot circle. You don't go all up in their business. You keep separation. You talk slowly. You talk accurately, and you enunciate your words. Those are all part of being a good communicator. With practice, experience, and some training and knowledge, you get to know and read people on how they're receiving what you're saying, and maybe you need to change course a little bit. You could be talking really in simple terms and very plain, and maybe they're not still not understanding. You may want to switch course a little bit and like, oh, let me explain it this way. And I like to use parables. I like to talk in things that people can understand, and so it makes sense to them. So this is all part of the process. We also use linguistic psychology. Verbal packaging, and so with the Google and Amazon. It said that Amazon sets pricing for 60% of the industry right now, but nobody can touch their volume. So you go to Amazon, and because they're selling a bazillion units of a certain product, well, hey, they can bring their cost to the customer way down. We don't have that luxury. And so people are going to YouTube University, they're going to Google, they're going to eBay, and they are Googling parts as fast as you can spit them out. So we talk about parts in the system that they're working in and what they do. And it's not to be dishonest. It's not to be sneaky. It's just to keep people off the internet and trying to, go find the part for cheap. Here's the problem with our industry. We have put so much emphasis on parts that we've lost our way. And I think we talked about this. I may be offline, but and so, hey, Mr. and Mrs. Customer, all you need is this. And we're talking about a part. And so if that customer sees that part and you've named that part, well, if all I need is this, what don't I need? Well, all of a sudden, they don't need you. So we put all our value in a part, in a stinking part that any Joe can go get. Your competitor can get it. You can get it. A handyman can get it most of the time. So why put the emphasis on this when actually you need me and my company, my knowledge, expertise, and experience to diagnose properly, safely, and give you the options to fix it.
Right.
So we got to take the focus off the part, put the focus back on us. And so that is part of what we do as well. And so, shall we jump in?
Yeah.
When does a service call life cycle? So when and where does it start? So we talked last week we talked about, hey, knowing your numbers, figuring out billable hours. And so now we got all that. We know what our minimum ticket needs to be. So we have a good grasp on where we need to be when we're doing a service call. What's our minimum ticket need to be profitable, and how many service calls we need. So all that stuff. So the service call life cycle, it actually starts with a customer having a pain point or a problem, which would trigger them going to Google, or which could lead them to your website. Their website could trigger them to call and talk to a CSR, or they could book that call right there on the website or any kind of other ad campaign that you're using. So the service call actually starts with your marketing. And so let's just for the sake of what we're doing this exercise, let's say it triggers a call. So the call comes in, and the first person in that whole line of that service call would be the CSR answers the phone. Mm-hmm. So it's imperative that you have a solid process for your CSRs to field a call coming in, asking the questions they need to ask, getting the proper information that they need. And so after the CSR takes that call, then they dispatch the call. So then it would go from the CSR to the dispatcher, or it might be the same person, depending on the size of your company. And so from marketing to a call to dispatch. Now the service technician gets that call.
Mm-hmm.
So right after the service technician gets that call, it's time for the courtesy text or the courtesy phone call to one, confirm the appointment and or make sure that it works in their time frame.
Right.
And so the technician may do it. I work with companies all the time because they're the ones that are in the field. They'll make that call. So depending on where your process is, it's really important that the technician speak clearly, say what they're going to do, and do what they say. And so it may go something like this. Hey, Mr. Mrs. Smith, this is John from Dynamic Air. I see I have an appointment with you at 10 o'clock. I can be on my way and be there in 15 minutes. Does that work for you? Pretty clear, pretty simple. Now, in the new flat rate, our process goes just like that. I've had technicians call, hey, Mr. and Mrs. Homeowner, I see that I have a service call for you and your furnace is broken and hey, what's going on? And I'm coming over. It's like, no, none of that needs to happen on the phone, and it'll make a little more sense as we go forward. Mm-hmm. So the courtesy call was made. Customer says, that's fantastic. Come on over. So you head over, you park your truck, make sure that you don't leak oil, maybe park it on the street. You approach the door. Our process says leave your tools in the truck or maybe on the front porch, and it'll start to make sense as we go forward. Mm-hmm. The actual call starts with a knock on the door and a greeting, and it could go something like this. Hey, Mr. Smith, this is John. I'm from Dynamic Air. What brings us out here today? Right? And so this is just an icebreaker. Mm-hmm. Right? And that is all you say at the front door. Hey, John, I'm glad you're here. I'm having trouble with my heating. Awesome. You always, if you're not invited in, you ask permission to come into the castle. Okay? Right. You are now entering their space. Have respect for their space. Okay. And if they don't invite you in, hey, do you mind if I come in? Because sometimes they may not have had a lot of service people. Do you mind if I come in? So you leave your tools on the front porch because you don't know where you're going. And I've seen guys clunking around with tools as the customer's walking them through. Leave them on the front porch, leave them in the truck. And so you go in, you put on your booties. And one of the first things you want to say is, just to clarify, Mr. Smith, did the office tell you about our $98 service charge?
Okay.
So, seems pretty simple, right?
Right.
Maybe the CSR did. Maybe she didn't.
Right.
But you know what? By asking this question at the beginning of the call, guess what? Everybody knows now. Oh, yeah, the gal told me about that. No, I don't think she did. Well, Mr. Smith, we have a $98 service charge. Okay, fantastic. And so then this is a chance to say, hey, do you mind showing me around? It may be the first time you've been there, maybe not, but it doesn't matter. Can you show me around? And you start to ask your fact-finding questions. Mm-hmm. And that could be, hey, when did this start happening? Did it happen all of a sudden? Was it all of a sudden it worked and then it didn't work? Were there any strange noises or smells? And then and then they're going to answer you. And so this is where the diagnostics start. Oh, well, they said this. Hey, I went to my thermostat and went blank, right? So this is all things that are very valuable to you to start your diagnostics process.
Right.
And so then after you get done with your fact-finding questions, this is another thing we do in the new flat rate. You could do it in your company as well. And they're like, okay, Mr. Smith, I'm going to go ahead and grab my tools and get started. We talked about the $98 service charge. I'm going to have a look at the problem, and I should be able to give you several options to take care of that today. And I tell you what, if you choose a service repair today, I will waive that service fee. How does that sound? That sounds fantastic, because I guarantee you your competitors aren't doing that. Fantastic. Got another question for you, sir. Is it all right if I come and go out of the front door? Will it be unlocked? Yeah, that's fine. Do you have any pets? Because the last thing I want to do is go chasing a dog down the street, and I have. And so these are some very courtesy like questions.
Right.
So far, the CSR filled the call and said, yeah, we can get a technician out there between this time and that time on Wednesday. So
Right.
that set the table for the next step. You call, say, hey, I'm John. I'm your service tech. I can be there in 15 minutes. Is that okay? So that cleared the step, right? That cleared the first step, set the next step. Sure, that's great. Knock on the door. Just to clarify, did the office tell you about the $98 service charge? Right? I set the table. Now they know there's going to be a service charge, whether they knew it or not. Hey, I'm going to go ahead and take a look at the problem. I should be able to show you several options. If you choose a repair today, I will be able to waive that service charge. How does that sound? Well, that sounds fantastic. All right, I'm going to get started. You ask some courtesy questions, and then when you get your tools and you're going to wherever the workspace is, hey, you know what? When I'm done, can I come and find you? That seems real simple, but some clients don't know that. Am I supposed to follow them around? Am I supposed to go wait? Hey, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and get started. Where can I find you? So it actually gives the customer permission to go about their day.
Right.
Like, yeah, I'll just be in here. I'll be watching TV. I'll be in my office. I'll be doing this. Fantastic. So what did I do? I set the table. I told them when I'm done, I'm going to come find them. There's no surprise. So this is where I say each step. So you go in, you do your diagnostics, and you figure out what the problem is. And then you always want to address why you're there first. And so if you go there and you find out that you've got a bad flame sensor or a capacitor, right? That is the main reason you're there. You always want to present that first. But then other findings, if you've got if you've got a situation where the blower is just caked, or there's some other issues, and you see that they've got a condensation pump that's failing and different things, that would be a secondary repair that you would bring up after the reason you're there.
Right.
And so what you would do in the new flat rate, you would go to your tablet, you would look under the repair that you're looking for, you would find the right page, and you would make sure you would read the tech handbook, which explains to you in technician terms what you need to do to fulfill those obligations. And you're saying, okay, this is it. You create a workflow, and it drops into the customer facing menu. So you have the technician menu, then you have the customer facing. While you're there, you go ahead and load up the secondary thing that you found. And once you have them loaded up, it's time to go see the customer. So you leave your tools where they're at, and you get your tablet, and you go back and you say, Mr. Smith, hey, do you have a moment? Yes, I do. Well, I had a look at your problem, and I'm a little concerned. But don't worry, I've got several options to take care of it today. Would you like to go over those now? So you heard what I said. I say it just as a matter of fact because I've been doing this for so long. Mm-hmm. I'm a little concerned. Oh, well, if the technician is concerned, then I need to be concerned. I'm a little concerned. Oh, really? But don't worry, I've got several options.
Right.
So that's where linguistic psychology comes in on how those words are spoken. Mr. and Mrs. Homeowner, I had a look at your problem, and I'm a little concerned. But don't worry, I've got several options to take care of that today. Would you like to go over those now? So it's like, oh, concern? Oh, don't worry. I got you, right?
Right.
So I did find a fault in whatever that problem is. Mm-hmm. My top option is always going to be my most premium and my most permanent. It really allows me to take my time, do a fantastic job, and it allows me to really address all my concerns. If we do that top option, I will do a complete voltage enhancement rejuvenation. It comes with a 2-year limited warranty and a 1-year safety inspection. Now that's where myself or another technician will come out in about a year and have a look at that repair and make sure it's tight and right, nothing slipping, as good as the day it was completed. We'll do safety and performance testing because here at Dynamic Air, we believe that safety is no accident for you and your family. It is always our top priority. We're going to do a complete wire enhancement. We're going to do this. We're going to do that. We're going to do the other thing. If we do all that whole list, if we do all that, it's going to be $1,224. Hey, but don't worry, we have some other options. Mm-hmm. We do recommend a bronze or higher if you can, because it'll give you a little better warranty. You hand them the tablet and you say, what should we do? And you be quiet.
Now, I have a question here.
Yes, sir.
When you're presenting them multiple options, do they typically ask a lot of questions about the different options?
You've got people that are super analytic and just real geeky, and then you got the people that are like, I get people all the time, hey, you got a minute? Just fix it. Right?
Right. That's how I am.
We've come across it. It's like, Mr. and Mrs. Smith, I'd love to do that, but I would never do anything without your permission. Right? And so, it runs the gamut. Some people ask one question. Some people, hey, what's this mean? And it's like, well, you know what? We're going to go ahead and pull off all those unshielded spade connectors. We're going to cut them off because they're loose, and we're going to put all brand new, and we're going to put them all back in place. It's going to be cleaned up like the day it was installed. And so you answer those questions. You answer one question with one answer, right? And it runs the gamut. Everybody's different on how they receive information, and then as they're processing it. And so they're reading it, and they ask a question, you answer, and you'd be surprised. About 65% of our people, if only given a menu, will go above the basic repair. Yeah, 65%. 65, sometimes it's even more, but depending on the area. But 65%.
65% are going above the basic, you're saying?
Yep, if only given an option. Because before you were giving them a take it or leave it.
Right.
And so the customer might say something about, hey, you know what? Let's go with that gold option. Mm-hmm. That is a fantastic option. What do you like about it? So what did that do? That set the table. Because they may have chose it just by the color, right? Hey, the gold, because it's in the middle. Let's do that gold option. That's a great option. What do you like about it? So many times they would look at it again and read it, and now you've made sure they understand what they're choosing, and then so your response would be, okay, so what should we do? Yeah, let's go ahead and go with that gold option. Okay, Mr. Smith, are you absolutely sure? Because we do have all these other options. I just want to make sure you're sure. Yeah, let's go with that. Fantastic. You mind if we take care of the paperwork? So what did I do? One, I said, that's a fantastic option. What do you like about it? That forced them to go back and read it and fully understand what they're committing to.
Right. So it's almost like a reaffirmation to them.
It is. And so, and then when they said, yeah, let's do that, I said, are you sure? Because we do have all these other options. That might force them to go back and look. And what does that do? Fine. That takes away buyer's remorse because I've gave them every opportunity to read it again, and change their mind. And they have. I've seen customers go down a level. I've seen customers more times than not go up a level.
This is almost. Sorry, go ahead.
They saw the value in what we were offering. Oh, well, the basic option, you're going to do this. And then the next option, you're going to do this, this, and this. And by the time you go up, you're going to do this, 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 and this. It's like, well, you know what? And I talked yesterday about pricing and not taking those big jumps. So from the basic option, depending on the repair, we may only go up $500. Mm-hmm. And then we go up another $5. And so it's an easy jump to make until they're at the top option, which is really our most premium. And so, and I may have misspoke at the beginning. It's like, oh, Mr. and Mrs. A homeowner, I did find a couple things of concern. And so once they've decided on this one, it's like, okay, so this is the other thing I found, and you bring up the other repair. You don't have to go through the whole scripting again. And this is what else I found. And so what should we do? And have them look at it. I often find that on the primary fix, the reason you're there, they'll choose a higher option. And on the secondary thing, they may say, hey, let's just go ahead and get it taken care of and do the lower option. But guess what? That is a win-win-win. I told you the first service on a service call is where all the money is getting eaten up. Any secondary repair is almost all, except for the material, goes into the profit margin. So that is a win-win situation.
Right. It's kind of funny how you said, are you absolutely sure? Like, we have tons of options. It reminded me of Regis and Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. It's like the same thing. And you'll watch them. They read it over again. And they go, yeah, final answer. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So there's a lot to that. And so, do you mind if we take care of the paperwork? At the new flat rate, you have to at least get them to sign giving you the permission to do the repair. Mm-hmm. And so, do you mind if we take care of the paperwork? Will you be paying with a cash, check, or credit card? Oh, a credit card. Fantastic. So while you're there and you're getting that signature, it is okay to take that payment. And here's a couple reasons why. A lot of guys don't do it till the end, right? If I get that payment now, hear me, I don't mean to sound greedy, but now the transaction is done. Guess what? Their pain and problem is done. They washed their hands of it. They've signed the check, and now that problem is my problem. Go fix it.
Right.
So you don't have to do it that way, but you have to at least get a signature giving you permission to do the repair. So that's a binding contract. And so then you go and do the repair. You clean it up. And so what if they were to have chose the platinum? So there's a lot of money built in. As a matter of fact, we build in so much money and value in that platinum repair that it's short of having to pull the blower motor. But let's say you're working on an outdoor condensing unit. The capacitor was gone. You sold a capacitor. They went ahead and got your platinum service, so you can go ahead and clean that evaporative coil. You go ahead and do all the rewiring. You give them the better capacitor, and you notice that the magnetic contactor is a little pitted, and it's a $12 part. Well, guess what? You're going to go ahead and do that. Mm-hmm. You're just going to go ahead and do that. Now, on this particular call, could the platinum actually cover pulling and cleaning that blower assembly? Maybe not. And so then after they've committed to the first repair, you show them the second, and if they buy a repair, then you're kind of done. And so that's always something to look at when we're training on the new flat rate. One of the top questions you have to ask yourself when you're choosing your repair page is, if that customer only chose my basic option, is there enough money there to cover it? Now, the reason you ask yourself that, because not all repairs are created equal. This could be in an attic with a really tough scuttle where you have to bring your ladder, you have to bring drop cloths. It's on the second floor. There's going to be extra trips. It's going to take you extra time. Every repair we have has levels, and you go up a level for difficulty, or if you got to go get a part, you go up a level, the pricing changes to accommodate the time. So that's one question you always got to ask yourself. So anyway, they chose those repairs. You say, okay, I'm going to go get started. You go in, you do the repairs, you clean up everything, and you're done, and it's time to go back to the customers. Mm-hmm. And so here's how you close out the call. If you didn't receive payment, right, when you asked the first time, and that's fine. If people say, hey, I'll wait till you're done, a lot of times that check's sitting on the counter by the time you're done, sitting there waiting for you, right? So you close out the call, and the first thing you want to do is give the homeowner a vote of confidence. Mr. and Mrs. Homeowner, I'm finished with the repairs. Hey, can you tell the system's running great? That was a great option you chose. So you're complimenting them on choosing the option that you perform. And so it's a vote of confidence towards the customer. And so will you be paying with a check, credit card? So now's the time to take the payment if they didn't do it ahead of time. And so the next two steps would be, how do we ask for a review, and how do we sell a maintenance agreement? And so I have a pretty simple and straightforward way to ask for a review. And so when you're done, system's running, you make sure they're happy. It's like, hey, Mr. and Mrs. Homeowner, I know you have lots of choices for service providers, and we really want to thank you for choosing Dynamic Air. And we have a text message we can send you that will direct you to a link to give us a 5-star review. And Mr. and Mrs. Smith, if it's not going to be 5 stars, you don't even need to bother with that. Here's my boss's card. Can you call my boss and tell him what we could do better next time to earn 5 stars?
So I like that a lot, actually. I've never really heard it positioned that way. Yeah, I do like that.
Because if you're not going to give me a 5-star review, I don't want it.
Right.
And if there's any reason at all why they're not going to give me a 5-star review, hey, you know what? Don't even bother. Call my boss. Tell him what I can do better or what we can do better as a company to earn those 5 stars.
Right.
And that shows that you care. And they will call the boss. And the boss loves getting those calls, I think, depending on the boss. Right. And so that keeps them away from giving you, poor reviews. And people will give you less than 5 stars for the silliest reason. He bent over to do the work and his butt crack was showing, or his pants fit a little
I'd
loose.
definitely give a 1-star review for that.
Yeah, or the guy had a tattoo, and that's why some companies have you wear sleeves, or maybe you're a smoker and you came in smelling a little bit like cigarettes, and that really offended the customer, right? So it could be a whole bunch of reasons that it could be silly as can be. But a 4-star, a 3-star review is a 3-star review. So if that's not if you're not giving me a 5-star, let us know what we can do. It works really well.
I like that a lot. I think that's
that is a very good strategy.
Yeah.
And then they're going to tell you, I love the service. You go ahead and send them the link to click, or you give them the business card and tell them to call the boss. And so that's how you handle asking for a review in a very straightforward way that's very friendly for both. You're able to get information from the customer, good or bad, but it just prevents a bunch of 4-star reviews coming in instead of 5.
Right.
And so the next thing would be how do we offer a maintenance agreement? And so you ask them if they give you a review. Hey, can I ask you one last question? With everything we did today to get your system running in this great shape, we should probably keep it that way. Did you know that literally every manufacturer, home warranty, and utilities recommends you have a service professional in your house at least once or twice a year? And I didn't even tell you about our Comfy Cozy Maintenance Club. Would you like to hear about it? That's where myself or one of our maintenance techs comes out once or twice a year. We go through the mechanical system, safety system, and performance system and make sure that we can maintain your system in a preventative way. We believe that safety is no accident for you and your family. We talked about that earlier. The mechanical, make sure that everything is running the best it can up to manufacturer specifications. And for performance, we want to make sure that you're not overpaying on your utility bills. And it's only $24.99 a month. Is that something you're interested in? Let their yeses be yes and their no's be no.
I have a question here. Are you only asking the people that have already given you 5 stars or say yes to 5 stars, or do you not know at that point yet?
I asked them to give me 5 stars, and they said they would.
Okay.
But even if they're going to give me 4 stars, I still want them as a maintenance customer.
Okay.
Yeah. Now, and honestly, whatever works for you. If you want to reverse those two, that's fine too. But when I got that system running and it's working and they're happy, that's when I want to ask for the review because they're happy.
Right.
Yeah. And
You're still
then
riding on that high.
it's still on that up note.
Right.
And so the way you ask for a maintenance agreement is I quoted the authorities. Did you know that literally every manufacturer, utility, and home warranty company recommends you have a service professional in your house at least once or twice a year? And I didn't even tell you about our Comfy Cozy Maintenance Club. That's where myself or another technician comes out twice a year. We go through the mechanical systems, safety systems, performance systems. Now, a lot of companies have a brochure. You can leave the brochure. What I find with most brochures from service companies is a 20-point bullet list on what we're going to do in cooling and a 20-point bullet list on what we're going to do in heating, and it's all Japanese to the customer. How about safety, mechanical, performance? 3 key items that cover 40 bullet points.
Yep, right.
Safety is our top priority. I showed the customer that I have empathy, compassion, I care about you and your family. Mm-hmm. Right? Mechanical. We want to make sure your equipment's running the best it can and up to manufacturer specification. Performance. We kind of want to make sure you're not overpaying your utility bills. Laid it out, plain and simple. It's X amount of dollars a month. Is that something you're interested in? But I prefaced that with saying, hey, after everything we did, they just spent money with me. After everything we did to get your system running and in this good shape, we should probably keep it that way.
Right.
Because that repair might have been something that could have been caught on a maintenance visit and handled proactively instead of reactively, which is an inconvenience to everybody except us because we're making money. Does that make sense?
Oh, yeah. I think this is really good, honestly.
Yeah. And so remember this. Objections are not personal. Don't get offended. Right? When an objection comes your way, take a deep breath and just address it politely and just a matter of a fact. Walk them off that edge. Because if they have objections, it's usually because they didn't understand something. And I'm telling you, if you build a process where every step sets the table for the next step, very rarely will you get an objection.
Right, because you closed all those doors.
Closed all those doors, right, Kenny? And so this is important as you're building out a process. And so and then having options really, really, really works. And so objections aren't personal. As a matter of fact, with a little practice and experience, as you're going through your process and you learn more about communicating with customers, you can identify an objection that might be coming. We call those yellow lights. Mm-hmm. And so, you know what? Maybe their body language. Maybe they asked a question, but it wasn't the question that they asked. It was how they asked it. Right? That seemed a little off or a little brash or maybe sarcastic, not intentionally, but right. If you can find those yellow lights, you got 2 options. You can address it right there on the spot, or you could take it and carry it with you till later and address it because you probably know it's coming. And I'm a strong believer in the first one. If you see something, just go ahead and bring it up and let's talk about that. And it may be the difference of them making a decision on choosing a better option if you take care of that yellow light when it comes up.
Well, because it's also too like you're addressing it up front and not trying to shrug it off to the side or sweep it under the rug or anything like that. You have nothing to hide. If that's something that you want to talk about, then let's talk about that.
Sure. And sometimes, depending on what it is, it could fester.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and then manifest itself later, and you're like, whoa, this is way out of proportion. We really could have addressed that earlier. So
right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So hitting all those pain points and addressing them early on, yeah, I agree with that.
That is a service call life cycle. It started when your marketing triggered a call. It went from the CSR answering the call to dispatch to the technician to knocking on the door with a greeting, asking permission to come into the castle, taking care of some business. Just to clarify, did the office tell you about our service charge? Yes, they did. Now everybody knows. And then, and you don't have to do this, but we do. It's like, hey, you know what? I'm gonna go ahead and take a look at the problem. Should be able to show you several options to take care of that today. And you know what? If you choose an option, I'll be able to waive that service call. How does that sound? Joe's Heating and Cooling didn't do that, right? And so, and then that's of course knowing your numbers and having your margins right that you can bake that in. And the objective is to never leave with just a service charge, but sometimes it happens. We try to keep those to a minimum, but every once in a while you'll get that. You'll just get out of there with a service charge. They might have been just kicking tires, but that's an expensive tire to kick. They a little skin in the game, right? Depending on where your service charge is. And so one of the things that I say is always be ready for the big question. Anybody have any idea what that big question is?
I have an idea, but I'll let you say it.
How much is a new one?
Yeah.
Yep. Always be ready. And so, unless it's a minor repair. So we typically look at this as some of the major repairs. We look at cost of ownership, age of equipment, the severity of the repair. If you go out and it's a compressor failure or, something to that effect, you got a leak in the evaporative coil, it's going to be ridiculous to get to. But never, ever take the repair off the table. More times than not, there's a lot of companies out there that their business model is sell, sell, sell. Sell new equipment, sell it. And then it's a take it or leave it. Oh, this ain't worth fixing. Well, how much is a new one? Well, I can't afford that.
Right.
And then they leave.
Right. Now you have nothing.
Now you have nothing.
Right.
And this is because we have a culture now where we don't have true technicians or diagnosticians. They are just sales guys. They go in, they red tag a unit. They've got a comfort consultant that's hovering, and it's like, "Hey, Jerry, I got a hot one. Get over here." And whoop, they go in and they close it, and that's their business model. We are in a I think things are going to turn around, but we've been in a down economy, and we've been in a repair economy and not in a sale economy. And so, as you look at a three-legged spoke, you have sales, and then you have service, and you have maintenance. And so in an up economy, the service is down a little bit, sales is up. Well, now service is up and sales are down, but the one constant is maintenance.
Right.
And then next week, we're going to talk about a maintenance called life cycle, but we're also going to talk about, are you losing money on a service call? So when there's a good opportunity and that big question is going to come up, I always have their equipment selection preloaded onto my tablet, ready to go. You give your options for the repair, right? They've looked at it. It's like, wow, this is quite an expensive repair. Well, how much is a new one? Well, Mr. Smith, I was anticipating that, and so these are our options, ready to go.
And they still have complete control. You're not pushing them and backing them into that corner. I think this is great.
Yep. So the top option is still our most premium, most permanent. Really has all the best materials in it. And here you go. What should we do? And they have a look, and then they'll say, you know what? I'm not quite ready for that now. Well, Mr. and Mrs. Homeowner, we do have easy qualify financing. And so we have an integration with Optimus Financing. And so one hit of the button, boop, sends them an application. We get an answer in 5 minutes right back to the tablet. So do they. Mr. and Mrs. Homeowner, you've been approved for this. Guess what? that allows you to go to a higher option here to get the better value. It's seamless.
This is good
And if
because
they go ahead.
I was just going to say this is good because you're giving them the price of whatever option is that they're choosing for the replacement or the new install. And then they're, "Oh, okay, I can't afford this." Well, and then you kind of use it the way you positioned it. It's almost like it's kind of the financing is kind of like a drop. It's not really a drop, but it's kind of a drop because you're going, well, we have this option as well, blah, blah. And then you still have the repair on the table. So you're walking away with something unless they completely hate you and they're like, get the hell out of my house, which I don't see that happening.
Right, and there's going to be, and I've experienced it. I was in Michigan running calls.
Mhm.
No, it was Georgia, and I was running calls with a young black man, and the guy was a great technician. He was polite as the day is long, and we got to the point, and the guy was a sarcastic sob, dropping jokes and making innuendos. And my service technician got so flustered
Mhm.
with him, he had to walk out of the house, and I'm there standing. And the guy's wife scolded him.
Really?
Why did you have to be that way? You know, they're
Right.
just trying to, and it was really some simple repairs. So you will get that 1% of people.
Of course.
So the cool thing about, you know what, I really can't afford that. It's like, well, Mr. and Mrs. Homeowner, we do have easy qualify financing. And I just sent you the application. Which one of these were you interested in? Well, I was kind of interested in that bronze. Fantastic. 10 minutes later, they get approved for a certain amount of money. Great news. You can actually move up to this option because now their payments are, $180, $200, depending on all the stuff. And it's like, wow. So now they're spending money that feels like it's not even their money. They're spending the bank's money. Hey, yeah. So that makes it easy for them to move up.
Right.
Oh, you know what? I think we're going to wait. I need a little more time. No problem, Mr. and Mrs. Homeowner. Whoop. Here's the repairs. What should we do? Go right back to it.
Right.
We'll get you up and running, and we'll buy you some more time.
It's just making everything, it's giving them the options that they want, and it's making it so simple to choose those options. And it's not just like the good, better, best. Like there's a lot of things that you
Right.
can play with there. This is good.
Yeah.
I wish I had this when I was younger.
Well, I wish I had this when I had my service company too. I didn't. But today I get to go all over the country, go with companies. I get in their books. I figure out their billable hours. I put on a uniform and I jump in the trucks with the guys and away we go running service calls. And it's like, hey, you know what? I got this one. I said, you'll do the work. Let me run it. And then I go through I know the scripting inside and out, backwards, in Spanish and Portuguese. It doesn't matter. And I run it and I put it in front of the customer, and the customer's, yeah, I'll take that platinum. And the technician's like, I can't believe they just did that. I said, I didn't do anything. I just gave it to them, said, what should we do? And they're like, yeah, I know. It's amazing.
Right. It makes it so much easier
Right.
for techs that aren't trained in sales. They're just techs,
Right.
but it just makes the whole process so easy. I mean, a lot of people
Because that's
go
also
in.
the hard thing, right? People who are good at sales, they are not technicians usually, and the other way around. So it's very rare to find an employee who can do both really well. And so this kind of solves that when an actual technician goes out.
It absolutely solves that. So most technicians didn't get into this trade to be salesmen.
Right.
And they might even hate being
That's
salesmen.
reality. Like
They
just reality.
like working with their hands. They like fixing shit, excuse my language, and they like being the hero. There's nothing more gratifying to be able to go and solve a problem for somebody, fix it, and everybody's happy. That's why they do it.
Right.
And they want to be good technicians. Well, this solves all of that. All you have to do is get through a little scripting, put the menu in front of them and say, well, what should we do? Follow a process.
I mean, a lot of people, especially when it comes to sales, they think you got to go in and BS them and, oh, I got to build rapport by talking about this or talking about that. The reality of it is that building rapport, if you're precise and professional and respectful of their time, like that's going to take you a lot further than anything else. Obviously, you can chit chat along the way. I don't care about that. But what I'm saying is like this process is allowing for the preciseness, for the professionalism, and for respecting their time. It's yeah, it's good. I
Yes,
like it a
and
lot.
I'm a firm believer that building rapport with clients should happen organically. If you're
100%, 100%.
authentic, you're honest, and you do your best work, it's an organic thing. You don't have to force
Right,
the building blocks.
right. So you're a golfer, or talking about stuff that they can see past that.
Right.
Well, I think we're at the top of the hour, guys.
We are. I think this is a
We
really good
are.
call.
That
Me
went
as well.
really smooth. Again, if there's any questions, just feel free to reach out. If you're by chance see this and you're interested in a new flat rate at all, give me a call. Let's talk. I could talk a little more in depth about how it works, and we can talk more specifically about the new flat rate, because that's not what this show is about. This show is about processes and different things. This there's other companies out there that do flat rate kind of stuff, but they are not app based. You still have to go into your CRM and buy it. We've got them all preloaded, thousands for electrical, plumbing, HVAC, chimney service and repair, equipment sales, and IAQ and building science. It's really quite amazing. That
Yeah.
did sound like a pitch.
Well, what we can do is, do you want us to leave any link in the comments or anything like that?
Give them my phone number.
Okay. We'll put your phone number in the comments. And then next week, we'll do week 4, same time, next Tuesday at 6 p.m. Eastern. And what are we going to be diving into then?
Yep.
Just so
So
we kind of give them an idea.
next week, we are doing the maintenance call life cycle. We're going to go through a maintenance call like we did today on a service call, but it is different, completely different until you get to the repair part. If you were to find something during your maintenance, then we jump right back to the, hey, Mr. and Mrs. Homeowner, great maintenance. I'm a little concerned, right? So it will jump back into part of this process. But how you go about doing the maintenance and the communication part is completely different. We'll go through a maintenance and the numbers on why our industry has done maintenance at a losing proposition, sweeping it under the rug, and then and so then we'll take that through, and it'll be good, and we'll wrap up the series. And I am very pleased with the way that this has gone and the flow. And I thank both Ben and Kenny for having me on, and looking forward to
Our
next.
pleasure.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you as well.
Thanks, John. We'll talk next week.
Talk next week. Bye-bye. Let me get it off here.